Hey everybody, this is Matt Atkinson, and you're watching Forward Gettysburg with Aaron Smith.
What is going on, everybody? This is Aaron Smith for Forward Gettysburg, and thank you guys so much for joining me. I am on the road today, and I am at a super cool, kind of off the beaten path battlefield that not a lot of people have gone to. I don't think a lot of people make the journey out here. It was a rather small battle, less than 3,000 or so combatants involved. Relatively strategically, tactically unimportant battle. But it was an incredibly important political battle for the American Civil War. I am here at Bluff. It's absolutely beautiful here. So let's get into it. So the neat thing about this battle, the thing that I really enjoy reading about and studying about Bluff, is that Bluff has a lot of connections to Gettysburg. Not so much the location. Obviously we're outside of Leesburg, Virginia. It's actually kind of funny to get here. You ride through a residential area, and as you ride, if you're anything like me, I think to myself, there is no way a Civil War battlefield is out here. But then there's a small little gravel road that goes back into the woods, and you follow that and you come to a parking lot and keep walking down that gravel road, and here you are. Kind of neat, kind of cool that this small battle, rather insignificant battle in the grand scheme of things, minus the political after effects, which we'll get into here in the episode. But it's pretty incredible that the county of Loudoun and the city of Leesburg and all these different organizations came together to preserve this field. So, Bluff connections to Gettysburg. First, we have the California Brigade, led by Edward Stone. Now, the California Brigade, they were not from California, they were from Philadelphia. And one of the cool things that they were trying to do is they were trying to garner support from the Western Territory. So what better way to garner support for the war effort than to name these regiments with the state of California. The California Brigade, they would be posted along the wall at the angle during Pickett's charge at Gettysburg. That is going to be Webb's Brigade, you know, the 69th Pennsylvania, the 70, 71st, 72nd Pennsylvania. That is the California Brigade. Another neat connection is that a lot of the Mississippian regiments that fought here, they are going to become part of Barksdale's brigade at Gettysburg. Barksdale making that gallant charge across the field, taking the Throstle Barn, you know, driving the Yankees in on day 2. So the Battle of Ball's Bluff is going to start by accident. There's going to be some Union troops over on the other side of the Potomac River, directly behind the camera. They are going to hear reports that there is a Confederate presence in this area. So they're going to send 100 men of the 1st Minnesota. Hey, that's another Gettysburg connection. They're going to send 100 men from the 1st Minnesota over the river. They're going to see some trees over here, but they're going to mistake it for a Confederate camp. They're going to fire off a couple of shots and they're going to hang out in the area. Now, that is going to alert the Confederates to the presence of Union troops. So the following day, the Confederates are going to reinforce this area. The Union, they're going to bring some men over and they're going to bring over a few cannons. There's a really, really cool mountain howitzer that you're going to see a little bit later. And the Battle of Ball's Bluff is going to begin. Now, it's interesting to note that at the Battle of Ball's Bluff, there is a sitting U.S. Senator commanding a regiment. Edward Baker is going to be commanding the 71st Pennsylvania. Tragically, Edward Baker would be shot and killed here at the Battle of Ball's Bluff. The marker marking where he was wounded is right here to my left. He is going to be the only sitting U.S. Senator to die in combat. Now, Baker is a close personal friend of Abraham Lincoln. As you can imagine, this is going to make the war take on a much more personal tone for Lincoln than it already has. This is going to really, really shake him. This is really, really going to affect President Lincoln. Right here's a pretty cool example of a 14-pounder James gun, a rifled bronze cannon here. And here we have 2 examples of those mountain howitzers I was telling you about. Small guns, great for maneuverability by man where horse can't go, but still very deadly. I can only imagine being a Union soldier, having to cross the river behind me, making your way up the 100-foot tall bluff here at Ball's Bluff. Maybe you're dragging some ammo with you. Maybe you're dragging one of those mountain howitzers or that 14-pounder James rifle. I can only imagine just making your way up here and you don't know what's on the other side. You know someone's probably over on that other side who wants to kill you, but outside of that, just making your way across the Potomac River into the unknown. It really is a very humbling spot to be, even though it's not a huge battle, even though we're talking overall a fraction of the men that were engaged at Gettysburg or even First Manassas or any of these other battles during the American Civil War, about 3,000 men. It still is a really, really neat place to be. The Union, they're going to reinforce, and they're going to have to send several boatloads of men over. They don't have enough boats to send everybody over in one go. So this is going to be a long, drawn-out process. They're eventually going to get their men across the river. There will be charge, countercharge, attack, counterattack. That's going to happen in the fields directly behind me. And this is going to be a pretty intense struggle. Eventually, the Confederates, they are able to overwhelm the Union and send them back to Harrison's Island. Some Northern men aren't going to be so lucky. Many of them, they're going to go careening off the edge of the bluff. Many of them shot as they're going down. The dead and the wounded now floating in the Potomac River. This area of the Potomac is going to float downriver to Washington, D.C. For several days, it's reported in D.C. that they will see bodies floating down the Potomac. Can you imagine the nation embroiled in civil war? You're going about your duties in D.C. and as you're taking a nice leisurely stroll in October along the Potomac, you see dead bodies, no doubt bloated, filled with gases, the decomposition process already beginning. Dead bodies floating by you in the nation's capital. It's insane. It's absolutely indescribable to think about. I can only imagine the psychological effect that had on the citizens of DC. Now, it wasn't a lot of bodies floating. It was somewhere near in the ballpark figure of 100 bodies eventually made their way down the river to DC, but still, I can only imagine the psychological effect that they felt seeing their own countrymen float down the Potomac River in the nation's capital. Now, there is a lot of foliage. This is early September, but you can kind of make out just how steep and treacherous this bluff was and what these men had to fight up. And sure, they probably took some easier ways to get up here, but this is just a 100-foot sheer drop through just very inhospitable woodland. So as I said earlier, this is where Edward Baker, a close personal friend of Abraham Lincoln, is going to be wounded and die. Originally, there was a fence post here. The fence post, of course, has since been torn down, and there is this nice, simple marker here. Now, he was a sitting U.S. Senator. As a result thereof, this was an incredibly huge blow to the North. This was an embarrassment. A U.S. Senator had been killed. The Union had been defeated by this ragtag band of rebels that wasn't even really supposed to be there. This was an absolute embarrassment. Just another embarrassment in the huge, long line of embarrassments for George McClellan. So, as a result thereof of Ball's Bluff, those political ramifications that I was talking about earlier, the political after effect, the aftershocks of this battle, there is going to be the creation of the Joint Committee on the Conduct of the War. And this committee is going to just hound and interrogate and question and investigate almost every single Union general and their actions in the war from this point onward. George Meade is going to very famously have to face questioning from the Joint Committee after the Battle of Gettysburg. This committee is going to harass and investigate and interrogate and I can't even think of any more synonyms for what they're going to do to these generals, these commanders during the course of the war, because they want their questions answered. Why are we losing this war? We should be winning the war. And so the Joint Committee on the War is very famously going to be created after the Battle of Ball's Bluff. Well guys, that's the Battle of Ball's Bluff, the Ball's Bluff battlefield here. The park, a beautiful park, very quiet, not a whole lot of people out here. I met some people on the trail, talked to them a little bit. A woman had a connection to the 20th Massachusetts, which fought here, which I thought was really, really cool. But that's what I have for you. Thank you guys so much for joining me. As always, this is Aaron Smith for Forward Gettysburg, and I will catch you on the next one.